is on.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Talking Smack, where we talk superheroes, movies, animation, comics, and much, much more. I am your host, Josh Scar, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Alex. Alex, I heard a rumor this week that you actually cameoed in Kraven the Hunter as his vest.
That is true. It was a lot of hard work, some insufferable hours, but I will say the snack table is fantastic. I mean, once you go over to catering, it's amazing.
I do have one question. What does Aaron Taylor Johnson smell like?
Yes, he is a good scene partner. I can tell you he smells like hope with a little bit of disappointment. But what I did like is that if you scratch enough layers, you do get Elizabeth Olsen's scent on from him. Those two movies over the
That was going to be my next question: is how often does he spend time with Lizzie Olsen?
I hope more often.
So I need to apologize up front to anyone listening and expecting us to be talking too much about Kraven the Hunter, Sony's apparent final entry into the not Spider-Man universe that they were not creating. We're going to dive more into that. I think we're going to talk a little bit about Kraven because even though we did not see it, we will have opinions because we've read the Wikipedia. We're going to dive into just some of the Kraven stuff. I legitimately did want to try and go see this and go 3 for 3 for the Sony not Spider-Man movies for this year. It just wasn't in the cards. The budget wasn't there. And, I'd rather just spend 2 hours and 40 minutes at home on my couch with my kids watching football or any number of things than watch this movie. I just, the free time wasn't there and the will was not there. This time of the year, I don't want to be doing this, which is probably why it only made $11 million in the domestic box office. The R rating probably didn't help it at either, but we'll dive a little bit more into that here on the other side of our promo. We're going to hear from our buddy Caesar over at the No on 15 Allcast. We'll be right back.
No, I'm 15. No, I'm 15. No, I'm 15. No, I'm 15.
So, what's our show about? It's about some dudes talking about movies, just like this.
With Goofy screaming with them.
So you're talking that they should have replaced it like with a Tom and Jerry scream or something like that?
Tom and Jerry screaming.
Or you might hear something like this.
Oh my gosh.
That whole movie, waiting to see what happens with Blanca, is like the most aggravating thing in that film.
But for the most part, we talk movies from the 80s, 90s, and today. And if you grace us with your ear time, you might hear one of these 30-second gems like this.
I was gonna say, I did not get a chance to watch this one this week.
Give it to him anyways.
Let us
We're
go.
gonna give it to you anyway. You ready?
I'm gonna give you the 30-second review of Tron Uprising.
All right. Start the clock and then.
So give us a shot and listen to the No on 15 Allcast, wherever you listen to your podcasts.
No, I'm 15.
Man, we really need to have Caesar on again.
I want to know who's the one who does the Goofy scream. That is a really good Goofy scream.
That is superb Goofy scream. Oh my Lord.
So Alex, we do have a small connection to the Kraven movie. Friend of the podcast, Adam Rose, comic book writer extraordinaire. He apparently was some kind of quality consultant on this film. Or some kind of consultant. I don't know. I just know that he revealed it after the first Rhino trailer was released. And like, that's super cool. I know when we last spoke with him, he was talking about how he had an NDA and he couldn't talk about anything. To find out that he worked on this movie is super cool. Like, you can't fault anyone for being excited and getting to chip in on a movie like this.
No.
They're not the ones in charge of the script. They can only do so much to try and give input to make things better.
Mhm.
To kind of just cliff notes this movie real quick. Sony has a blueprint that they like to use with these movies, and it seems the marketing did like just enough. Like I said, I was legitimately, at least I will say, interested in trying to come out to the theaters and watch this movie, only because whoever made that first like full length trailer where they used "The Man Comes Around" by Johnny Cash as like the theme of the trailer. It's a fantastic song, and I was like, okay, I can I can get behind this. I think maybe it's not going to be good, but I appreciate the effort and I appreciate what you're trying to do here. Let's give it a shot. And the more I saw that trailer, I think I saw it like 2 or 3 more times in cinemas as we saw other movies later on this year. I was just like, nah, fuck you. You're just trying to get me with Johnny Cash. And again, it just seeing what the response was, the response to, along with the box office and the tomato score and the Metacritic score. What did IGN give this even? I I don't even know if you even bothered looking it up. You usually
3.
like to. Yeah, so even IGN was like, "No, thank you. Keep the check."
Yep. I actually was interested. I like Aaron Taylor Johnson, and I like the Russell Crowe is the father of all superheroes universe he's building, having been Superman's dad, Hercules'
Zeus,
dad,
yep.
yeah, and now Kraven the Hunter's dad. I can't say there's like names on the directed by, screenplay by, all that stuff that bother me. I was tentatively excited, but just the more that this got pushed back and moved around, and then that it came out that even before the movie was released, Sony's just like, we're just throwing it in a towel. I don't want to go see something and be like, oh, that could have, what this could have been. To give credence to the trailer, yeah, using Johnny Cash, I was excited. Just like the 28 years later trailer that came out last week, that whoever mixed that with the Boots by the Rudyard Kipling, that was a phenomenal trailer. It was like, this movie could be terrible. It's a legual to that is like 20 years after 28 days later, but I am hyped because they made me go, ooh, this might be all right.
Yeah, that trailer reminded me that I've been meaning to watch those movies. As we all know, I don't watch horror films, but 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later is one that has always like been on my radar, but it kind of just falls to the wayside, sort of like the Planet of the Apes movies, where I'm just like, oh yeah, those exist. I should watch those because they seem like they might be in my wheelhouse a little bit, and then I just forget about them. But speaking of the people behind the camera, or just the pencil pushers, we need to talk Avi Arad. This dude's been around since the 90s. He was involved in Amazing Spider-Man animated series from the 90s, as well as the spin-offs. What was it? Spider-Man Unlimited. He was an executive producer on Blade, X-Men, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films, which he has coasted on his relationship with Spider-Man since the animated feature, or the animated series. I really want to know how he has become so tied to Spider-Man, because Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, those are very definitively Sam Raimi films. Those are Sam Raimi projects. I don't know who Avi Arad is at this time in Hollywood, but his biggest thing at that time was he was an executive producer on Blade and X-Men and then Spider-Man. Prior to that, again, the biggest thing he had done is he had been a producer on the Spider-Man animated series. And then he's just been coasting, like he's a producer on Iron Man, he's a producer on the Incredible Hulk. But then after 2008, oh man, does he just again, where does he fit in all this? Is he kind of like the Simon Kinberg kind of producer guy, where like he just throws some money at a project and he gets the producer credit because he kind of has a little bit of clout? Like what does he do that he has his own production company, that he is like synonymous in Hollywood with Spider-Man? Because after his ties with the MCU kind of get severed, 2000, his next project after The Incredible Hulk, 2011, Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance. 2012, The Amazing Spider-Man. 2013, Robo Sapien rebooted. 2014, Amazing Spider-Man 2. 2015, Gamba to Matachi, Matachi, I don't know. Ghost in the Shell, you know, the famously Asian Scarlett Johansson playing the Asian protagonist. Then he gets that Spider-Man paycheck from Sony with the MCU Spider-Man Homecoming. He's a producer on Venom. He gets a producer credit on Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Like, when Sony bought the rights to Spider-Man, did Marvel just like throw in Avi Arad as like a retainer of some kind, or just like a little extra thing on the side? Like, so he's like the marinara sauce to the mozzarella stick or something. Like, I can't say that he's the marinara sauce, because marinara sauce is amazing. He's not good. So like, he's produced Uncharted. He's produced all the Venom movies. He was a producer on Borderlands that came out this year, which again, another shitty ass movie. It went to streaming within a week.
Yeah.
What does this guy do that he gets to continue to just throw money at projects and do his thing? He's also going to be a producer on the upcoming Zelda film that Nintendo has greenlit.
Oh, wow. I don't know. I really want to have a frank discussion with the people at Sony and ask them, okay, all right, we get it. Y'all have the rights to Spider-Man and Spider-Man's, list of foes, his rogues catalog. You got one off with Venom, all right? That was what, $1 billion movie unexpectedly or something like that, or 800 million.
But Venom's a built-in moneymaker, because Venom is a character that, yes, he's kind of got a cult following, but he is synonymous enough with Spider-Man, and he looks enough like Spider-Man that you're going to trick people. Not in the same way that Morbius and Madam Web and now Kraven, like people have caught on to this gimmick, and they're like, Spider-Man's not in this. Like, we have heard that it's a Spider-Man villain, but we know he's not in this anymore. Why would we go to this?
Yeah, but I want to know, like, what was their objective? Was it to build a Sinister Six? Is there supposed to be like a Green Goblin movie hiding back there somewhere? Were they going to do a Sandman movie as well? Were they planning on building up to like a Suicide Squad kind of thing? What is the objective? Yes, the objective is, we know the objective: make money, keep the rights. But between Morbius, Madam Web, Venom: The Last Dance, Kraven, what is your next step?
Who is your audience for this?
Yes.
Beyond even just like, what are you building towards? Because I think with Morbius, they were pretty clearly trying to go, let's go Sinister Six. We'll have them led by the Vulture. Morbius will be a guy that is involved for some reason, and we'll kind of keep building out from there. Like, maybe Venom becomes the quote unquote antagonist for the Sinister Six instead of a Spider-Man. But like you said, what are we building towards? What is the purpose of these films if you're not building towards a Spider-Man? And you kind of, I can't remember if we were talking about it on air before we recorded, but there was an article that came out leading up to Kraven's release, where they basically confirmed or wrote out that Kraven is the quote unquote last dance, no pun intended, for Sony's not Spider-Man universe. And the reason they never put in a Spider-Man in these films is because Sony doesn't think audiences are smart enough to understand that multiverse things happen, and you can use different Spider-Men or Spider-Women in different movies to do a different thing. But I will say, I disagree that they think that like audiences are smart enough to be like, oh, okay, different Spider-Man, probably different universe. Okay, fine. But if you do that, you're pretty much just creating a formula that's the only payoff is, what Spider person are you bringing in to do the finale of this film? Because like there could be a fun gimmick of, oh, Morbius, he's defeated his brother, the other Morbius, Matt Smith Morbius, and now he's just Morbin time all the time. Oh, look, it's Spider-Gwen in live action here to fight him or calm him down, whatever it may be. Venom is doing a thing and he's crashed in New York, and look, it's Miles Morales, And like, holy cow, like the only thing that you get out of that is what Spider-Person is showing up, and maybe you get a little bit of an endorphin high, but you're just making a 2-hour long movie that's just building towards one reveal for a 15-20 minute sequence of this Spider-Person is now here. So like, I can understand the restraint because you don't want to fall into the formula of villain origin story, Spider-Man, Spider-Person shows up and defeats them.
Part of me wonders if maybe their plan was, hey, listen, we build up all the bad guys, and then either they Suicide Squad it, or did they think they could tell the MCU, hey, screw off, we got this, because we have built up now, like, we have a 3-movie Spider-Man arc where all these bad guys, Venom, Carnage, Morbius, are all coming for him. We've worked it out. He's like, and I just do not understand who the audience was. And looking at, because Venom had a little bit of a teaser, but the teaser for Venom was just Carnage. Let There Be Carnage didn't really have a great teaser other than kind of, oh yeah, Spider-Man might be in this universe, but they then like teleported away or some crap like that.
Yeah, the very end of Let There Be Carnage ends with the No Way Home sequence where they bring the other guys in. But yeah, go ahead, keep going with Morbius.
Yeah, but then Morbius was over 2 years ago, and we had Vulture show up for a moment, which, yay, Michael Keaton, bravo to you, paycheck cash, I appreciate it. Anytime you're on screen is fantastic, but they didn't follow that up in Madam Web. They didn't follow that up in Venom. I mean, to me, you would think that Venom: The Last Dance would have had like Morbius, Vulture showing up going, we formed a team, we're hunting down the spider dude or something, but they didn't even try that. And as far as I'm aware, at no point does Kraven, after he drapes me over his shoulders, I was listening to the lines, he didn't say, hey, I'm going to New York, there's this spider thing to hunt down. It just sounds like they were hoping that IP is enough. Like, we have some intellectual property. If we control the finances, make them all about 110 million, we can turn a bit of a profit by tricking people into thinking like this is the long tease. We got you eventually. Eventually, Spider-Man will show up.
Yeah, I don't know, because they never establish anything beyond what's set within the movie. Like, it's very Fox X-Men, where the only thing that matters is the current plot and whatever we mentioned from the previous movies. Nothing else is important. Don't worry about what happened previously. It's only what matters now. And so when Madam Web hit, especially, I can't even remember, was that set in like the late 90s or early 2000s? Yeah, because they were setting up, they were going to try and set up that as the Amazing Spider-Man universe, if I remember.
Yeah, it was supposed to be like late 90s, early 2000s. Like, but at the same time as they didn't really establish it, other than there was just kind of like, this
technology
dated. Technology's a little off. I don't think she ever once, but oh, man, September 11th, that sucked, or something. To really give us a date.
Yeah, they date it more with the technology. Man, I forgot Emma Roberts played Peter's mom in this, and then Adam Scott was Uncle Ben. Yeah, so like establishing Madam Web as set in 2003, and then doing a 90s and early 2000s to mid 2000s DC thing where it's like none of these movies are connected. They're all part of the Marvel umbrella and the Spider-Man sub umbrella, but they're not going to do anything together. What kind of plan is that? Like, this is where I wish we had more connections, because we could talk to people and try to figure out what Amy Pascal, Avi Arad were trying to do with this. And I don't know how you make a plan of, let's make a bunch of Spider-Man villain origin story / anti-hero movies, but then never pay off anything to do with Spider-Man with these characters. What is the long game with that? Like that, like you're saying, like, are you building towards a Sinister Six? Because to my count, you have 4, 5. You have Venom. I guess you have Kraven. You have Morbius, who again is maybe more of an anti-hero than an outright villain. And I mean, Venom's dead, as far as we know. Madam Web,
Roach Venom is still alive. How dare you?
Madam Web is not a villain. She's gonna be like manipulating things so that they don't succeed. So what are you trying to accomplish with any of this besides retaining your IP and retaining your contract with Marvel, which like apparently now Disney has modified the deal and altered the deal to the point where Sony has to make at least decently okay movies. Which, have they made a good movie from Columbia in the last 5 years?
See, that's what I was actually going to ask you. So there's 6 films. We got 3 of them this year. We got 2 within a year-ish in 2021 and 2022. So the first Venom, you mostly liked, right? I mean, it was passable entertainment, right?
It was fun. Yeah, like it wasn't good, but it was fun.
I thought the She-Venom part, that made me kind of giggle, because it was just like, is he making out with himself? How does this work? You know? I think Venom Let There Be Carnage, the second one, I really felt that was more of a, I don't know, more of a tech demo for Andy Serkis to show that he could play with some big money. Because I can't remember crap about it other than
DJ Venom.
Yeah, Woody Harrelson's bad wig.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, it was slightly better than his Little Orphan Annie wig from the post credits of Venom 1.
Oh my god, that movie was so bad. Which, you know, bless you, Andy Serkis. You know, you deserved a shot at a big movie. I understand he did the Mowgli movie for Netflix like 2018, but I don't know if anyone actually ever saw that.
I've heard good things about it, but yeah, I haven't watched it. They buried it too.
That thing was not even given any press. I remember Andy Serkis was actually like, "Guys, I have a movie," like talking about it, and Netflix was like, "Shh, shh, 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 shh. No, you don't. It's quite okay. Go away. This is a write-off."
So for anyone that's like getting a little like technical with me about like Columbia Pictures producing a good film, yes, there have been good films produced under the Columbia banner. You have The Mitchells versus the Machines, you have Across the Spider-Verse, you have Into the Spider-Verse. Those are produced by Sony Animation. Columbia just is the distributor. Like Columbia really has nothing to do with that. I don't even think Sony gives a shit about their animation department, because for some reason they've produced like 3 really good movies in the last 5 years. But since we've hit the 2020s, let's go over Columbia Pictures releases per Wikipedia. Bad Boys for Life, Magic Kids 3 Unlikely Heroes, Fantasy Island, Narcissus and Goldmund, Bloodshot, The Craft Legacy, Mitchells versus the Machines, which as I previously mentioned, doesn't count because that's Sony Animation. Yeah, Peter Rabbit 2, The Runaway, Wish Dragon, which that was a Netflix Aladdin knockoff. Fatherhood, another Netflix film. Escape Room, Tournament of Champions. Okay.
Wait, Escape Room? Oh, that's great.
Escape Room,
Okay.
Tournament of Champions. Vivo, Cinderella, which was the Amazon Cinderella. Venom, Let There Be Carnage, Ghostbusters Afterlife, Spider-Man No Way Home, which those movies don't count either because they're technically literally produced by Marvel and Sony just gets to get credit for it. A Journal for Jordan, Hotel Transylvania Transformania.
That was also an Amazon movie.
Yep. Uncharted, Morbius. Those released within 2 months of each other. Fathers 2, Locked In, Locked In Society. The Man from Toronto. That looks Woody Harrelson and Kevin Hart. Where the Crawdads sing. Okay. No, that one was bad, wasn't it? I remember it's based on a book and it's got like a really artsy cover, but I think that one was.
I think that was Oscar nominated. That
was
seems
it?
like
$144 million box office, $24 million budget, maybe. Critical response it has a 35% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Apparently. Oh, okay. I was wrong. For some reason, I felt like that was one of those weird ones where it's just like it kind of sneaks in under the radar and wins like an Oscar or two in a category.
I think that's why it was released in July of 2022. They were trying to bury it. It still made 600% its budget. So Good for them.
Yeah.
Bullet Train's fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's not great by any means, but it's pretty fun. I think it's a little too long. Lyle Crocodile, not bad. It's not Paddington. It wants to be Paddington. Devotion, starring two awful people in in Jonathan Majors and Glenn Powell, two people who are awful for different reasons. Let's see here, A Man Called Otto, 65. You remember 65?
Oh, that's the that is
Adam Driver.
Is
a future human who lands on Earth in the age of the dinosaurs.
Yeah, I actually did want to see that because I was like, I think that's one of Sam Raimi produced films or something. And I was like, oh, this could be really good or bad. And then I think I saw the second trailer. I was like, oh no, this is not what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, Sam Raimi is a producer on that.
Sam, it's okay. I understand.
It's probably he probably just knows Scott Beck and Brian Woods and was like, oh yeah, I'll throw you guys a bone.
Yeah.
Across the Spider-Verse, No Hard Feelings. That's the Jennifer Lawrence R-rated sexcapades comedy where she tries to seduce a minor. Gran Turismo, which is Sony cross-branding with itself.
I actually thought that was actually pretty good. I mean, it didn't make money, as from where
I didn't bother seeing it. Dumb Money, the GameStop stock movie Money. Napoleon, everyone's favorite movie from last year.
Oh, that was so good. So good, immediately got a director's cut.
Anyone But You, the rom-com of 2023 and early 24. Madam Web, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. The Garfield movie, Bad Boys, Ride or Die, Fly Me to the Moon.
Fly Me to the Moon.
Which I have heard like decent things about Fly Me to the Moon.
I want to see that one.
But then they immediately lose credibility again with Harold and the Purple Crayon. It Ends With Us. Afraid, which like give me a more generic title. Apparently they did produce the Saturday Night Live biopic movie. Venom: The Last Dance and Kraven the Hunter to round out 2024.
Actually, I'm sorry, Josh. It's not Afraid. It's Afraid. AID.
Aid.
Yes, it is about.
Is about
AI
a hearing aid
in your home.
Oh, okay. I thought that was like a hearing aid or something. AIA. So yeah, like, sorry for reading off a long list of Sony produced stuff for the last 4 years. The only reason they don't get the same pass, like, I don't even know. Do they get a pass? Because like this is similar stuff to Warner Brothers. Maybe they're just not as overt about it since they don't have their own streaming service.
I don't know. I really truly wonder if like Sony and if PlayStation and the electronics division like props up the entire company.
It has to.
Yeah.
Isn't it like it's like their TV, electronics, the video game department, and like probably their cameras, but like all that shit's so overpriced too.
Hey. Sony's not sponsored, but they could be. All right, so you walk.
I mean, hey, I'll take a Sony camera if they want to throw one my way for a sponsorship. I'm not saying their shit's not nice. I'm just saying their shit's expensive, and you can get stuff that's pretty equally as good for a fair price difference.
Hey, I agree. You could say the same thing about Apple. Not a sponsor, but could be.
Apple, please give me my Apple TV Plus subscription, and I will hawk your shit like there's no tomorrow. Hey, and not a Hawk Tua shit. No, not that.
Hey, Silo got renewed for 2 more seasons. That means Rebecca Ferguson stays in my life. I'm happy with that.
I think Shrinking season 3 is confirmed. I can't remember.
Oh, yes.
But Shrinking is so good.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to watch that show. It is worthwhile. And then again, you got Ted Lasso, and there's a bunch of other stuff that's like comparatively to like the Netflix originals and the Hulu originals. Most of the stuff on Apple TV is very good.
Yeah, like Napoleon and Napoleon the Director got produced by Sony.
Napoleon. What era of Joaquin Phoenix are we in at this point with how he's walked away? He has either walked away or tried to walk away from like 4 projects, like right before filming.
It feels like we're the late aughts, early 2010s Sean Penn era, where it's like they've like hit their stride. They got a few Oscar or some nominations, and now they like don't know what to do with themselves. So it's just random, and that's how I feel about it. Because like what has and hasn't Sean Penn done in the last 15 years? Other than be just kind of oddball, make some weird choices, and
weirdly cranky for seemingly no reason other than the fact that he hates that people like his performance in Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Which embrace it. Listen, Spicoli.
Hey, he is an artist, and he is more than just a stoner man from the 80s.
Okay. And Jim Carrey is more than, as I used to call him, the white dude on In Living Color. But that doesn't mean I can't like Fire Marshal Bill.
I think his favorite thing for me when I In Living Color was on was him and his taxidermy dog Butch.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I think that was the one that always had me and my sisters in just in stitches, just what he was able to do there.
And if you haven't seen his Vanilla Ice dance sketch from In Living Color, it's fantastic because the payoff for that, wearing that bedazzled jacket where he turns around and it says "My grandma made me," this is just perfect. We are way off topic.
Yeah, I keep trying to swing it back, but I don't want to talk about Sony movies anymore. But I mean, that's kind of what we're doing here. So
I have to know. Did you ever watch Morbius? Because I did.
Does putting it on in the background and just looking at it as it's on TV occasionally from my phone count?
Yes, that counts. That actually is considered a view by anyone in the last 10 years. Because yesterday, all right, so here's a random one. Yesterday, I put on, I have an Amazon Fire TV Cube. Amazon not a sponsor, but please become one. My Prime is getting expensive. Anyway, I on Amazon chose to play Christmas Vacation because it's that time of the year. I had to go run an errand towards the end of it. When I got back, it had started Christmas Story on like Max. I don't know how the heck Amazon went, you know what? This is on our Prime Video. We're going to play something that you think you might like from a different subscription service. But you know what? When I got home, I let that crap keep playing. So that counts. Just like you in the background. You know what, Josh, you could have even been in a different part of your house. Walked by it twice, maybe like heading to the kitchen. Counts as a view. Did you like it?
No. God,
okay,
no.
There you go. Morbius, I respect the comic accurate designs of the vampire look and all that crap. I respect the comic accurate origin story. Moving on. So, Madam Web.
I mean, not really comic accurate origin story. Like, yeah, I think
it's closer than a lot of crap.
He is a little sickly, if I remember, but I mean, the one most people remember is the one from the animated series, which
yes.
Avi Arad maybe had a hand in that. Who the hell knows? So like he's just a good looking dude who falls in love with he becomes an obstacle for Peter Parker to bang Felicia Hardy, and Felicia falls in love with him, and then he gets what is it, the mutagenic recombinator or something like that, and he gets his DNA combined with a bat, but he also can't be a vampire because children's television, so he can't suck blood, so they give him little suction cups on his hands that drain plasma from people.
Man, yeah. I am like 7 years old in the living room on Saturday morning now, remembering that.
I remember they would always do a close-up whenever they were about to cut to commercial. They would show his hands, and you would see the little faces on his hands.
Yeah. By the way, have you revisited that at all? That
because I did do a rewatch. Like,
oh, yes, we did
in the last like 5 years or so.
Yeah, I think we talked about it.
I think when it came up on Disney Plus at some point.
Yeah, but it's not good. The animation is really poor.
What's really weird is, the animation is cheap. One thing I always forget that I still love is the fact that Prince Eric from the 1989 Little Mermaid movie is Peter Parker.
Yes, yes.
That's something that blows my mind every time I remember that fact. There comes a point in the production where Spider-Man does not throw a punch ever. And once you know that, you notice it all the time. All he
Yep.
does is shoot his webs, catch things, and throw them, usually away from the bad guy. But usually it's just like his webs or some kind of happenstance that solves the problem. He never gets into a fist fight because Fox was under such heavy regulations for like anti-violence.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't rewatch
Which is
all of it.
bizarre because they
Yeah.
still were running the X-Men series, and that was extraordinarily violent anyway.
Mm-hmm. It's like when you watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: The Secret of the Ooze, and you realize they don't use their weapons either. Because
Leonardo and Raphael, they don't get to use their weapons because they are slashy slash and pokey pokes.
Oh, well, even Michelangelo, like he hardly ever takes out his nunchucks. He like uses other weapons as nunchucks, like sausage links,
cold cuts.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. I love that line.
But when we talk about the 90s the 90s Spider-Man animated series, once I realized how cheap the animation was and how much they reused it, I could not unsee the amount of times they just reuse him landing on the wall, and it's always the same brick wall, the same
And maybe
pose.
they would just mirror it.
Yes, and they would just kind of hold it while he thinks of something for like 5 to 10 seconds to save that money, to shave that cost down. Like he could be in a warehouse and it would like a warehouse concrete walls. He would land on a wall and it would be brick.
Yeah, I mean, you got to save money where you can, and Marvel was struggling at that time, so
Mm-hmm.
I mean, good on them for doing what they can. God, I'm just and that's not even a Sony production.
Madam Web was terrible.
Madam
Web,
Web, God, those sunglasses are going to haunt me for the rest of my life.
Yep.
And the fact that a guy whose power is that he can kind of see the future a little bit can't avoid getting hit by a car, not once, not twice, but 3 separate times within the span of 2 days.
Yep.
And that reminds me, one of the things, because I at least did my research for this movie outside of going to the movie and seeing it for myself. Maybe we'll talk a little bit of Kraven the Hunter here. I did listen to a couple of podcasts that I trust that give good reviews because they have a basis in comic books. One of the things with this movie is that they claim to have taken like inspiration from Kraven's Last Hunt, which is like a seminal 80s Spider-Man run. And the only thing they really took out of it was Kraven is part of an oligarchical mob family from Russia. That's kind of it. And the other thing that I remember both came up with, both podcasts I listened to that they brought up pretty, what's the word, unprompted, was the fact that this has a lot of Madam Web in it, in that this movie was supposed to have been released in like January 2023. Then it got bumped to April 23. And then it got moved to, I think it was like October of this year. And then they did a little bit more gymnastics and pushed it to December, thinking that no one's going to go see Sonic. No one's going to go see The Lion King. No one's going to go see Moana 2 or Wicked. We'll slap it right in the middle of all of those 4 high profile IPs. And maybe it'll stick around as an R-rated movie in the middle of the holiday season. But through all of the reshoots and like reworking of this film, what I mean by it has a lot of Madam Web in it is that apparently there's a lot of ADR and obvious ADR.
Yes, I read that.
So like there's a sequence where Kraven is Aaron Taylor Johnson's Kraven is going to like London or something, and he has his like own personal pilot, which they make a point apparently to have a scene where he's having conversations with this person. The only reason you do that is because that person is supposed to be important to for some reason, but apparently she, like, it's a female pilot, but that is all we ever find out about her. and all of her lines are ADR'd because they clearly cut around something to do with her. And like, I would love to be a fly on the wall to listen to Amy Pascal, Avi Arad go, it's fine, no one will notice. Makes sense.
See, the one I read about was there's a scene in which Calypso talks to Kraven and is kind of explaining in his Kraven cave what the potion did to him. And it's like very oddly cut because they like walk in together, but she is definitively like by herself. So very obviously reshoot green screened. We need you for like a day for this. It's very obvious that they are not only ADRing, but they're trying to make her mouth match what she's saying, what the new words are. So she briefly looks like she's a Canadian from South Park. Because like her facial expressions don't match her mouth, and like there's no movement from like eyes, like from like nose to eyes. It's just occasionally brow wrinkle like movement, and then flapping South Park mouth.
You notice a lot of that in like 80s and 90s movies where they clearly do ADR, but usually they'll do it from the rear shot where you're facing away from the person and the person's like looking at someone and you just see the back of their head and you can tell that their jaw is moving, but it's not synced up with the words that are being said on through the speakers. And
that really gets me this in this day and age, because I watch a game show called The Floor hosted by Rob Lowe. It's a cheesy show. It's oddly addictive. It flows very easily, but they do a lot of ADR to remind you of what the stakes are of what's happening in that moment. And it is incredibly obvious because when he's saying it, like he'll be talking at the camera to the two contestants and they'll cut to a view of all the other contestants on the floor. And you can hear the difference in his pitch and then the ambient background noise. Like they don't even try to mask it. It's like, okay, guys, what we got coming up is this category. And if you don't remember, the stakes are this: you're playing for 20,000 at the end of the show. So don't forget to go ahead. And it's so bad. And it drives me nuts.
American Ninja Warrior does that a lot too.
Yeah. Well, it does it so much so that my wife actually gets mad at me because I will just say that was ADR. And she's like, I get it. But I'm saying it because it pisses me off because it's so blatant. And it's not like they're doing like a wide angle shot or something. It's the fact that the tone and the ambient noise and the clarity completely different, which if Jeopardy ever starts doing something like that, it's going to tick me off, because Jeopardy Ken stumbles or they need clarity or something like that. They just immediately make him do it after the episode. They're like, you're on the stage. We've noticed these flubs, fix them all. So he's on stage he's on stage redoing his lines and stuff like that. Not, oh yeah, it's been like 6 months. Can you just walk into your bathroom and say this line for me? It's good enough.
So,
this is a terrible eulogy.
We just talk about all the things that this reminds us of. One of the things that I wanted to get this a little earlier, but I was, as you heard at the beginning of the episode, I kind of wanted to poke fun at this because I have the Nelson Muntz the hunt is on intro. And I was gonna like close out the episode with the really bad Martin Sheen Uncle Ben line, but I haven't watched Amazing Spider-Man I think since it came out in theaters. I remember like not thinking it was terrible, but I was like, oh, I'll give it another watch. Maybe I'll buy it on DVD or something. I never did, because why would I? So I went back and I wanted to get the really bad line, because they did such a such a bad. They really didn't want to just do with great power comes great responsibility line again. They wanted to rework it in a different way for this new series, because we can't have Uncle Ben say with great power comes great responsibility, because people might get confused. How does Uncle Ben from these movies know how to say the same line as Uncle Ben from the other movies? It's not like it's a thread, a spider thread, a spider web, whatever you want to call it. Like it's that would be like the Lord of the Rings doing the one ring to rule them all and being like, the one circular jewelry to combine them, and with their powers combined, Captain Planet. Like, I don't like what is this? So I recorded the line
Mhm.
and I wanted to talk about it here because I think it's
Okay.
indicative of Sony's laziness, because there's a big thing that I missed in my like one and like many passing glance viewings of Amazing Spider-Man. So I'm going to play this and I'm going to point out the one flaw if you don't catch on to it.
But your father lived by a philosophy, a principle, really. He believed that if you could do good things for other people, you had a moral obligation to do those things. That's what's at stake here. Not choice, responsibility.
So did you catch it?
It's so convoluted. I didn't. Like,
it's the very first thing he says.
Yeah.
With great power comes great responsibility. Apparently is not even Uncle Ben's line in the Amazing Spider-Man
it's
universe.
his dad.
It's his fucking dad's.
Oh my gosh. No, because the second it's like your dad said this, I was like, I immediately like
your
ignored.
dad had a philosophy. Your dad
Yeah.
had a belief that if you have great power, you must have great responsibility, but in the most convoluted way
No.
ever.
No, it's his. Wow.
So like they completely undermine Ben's philosophy that he instills on Peter. And
Oh,
I think that is
ugh.
indicative of what these not Spider-Man villain anti-hero movies are, is a gross misunderstanding of the philosophy that makes these characters great. It's because they're an antithesis to Peter Parker. They're an antithesis to Spider-Man. Because if you look at Spider-Man in the comics and in the Sam Raimi films, because we don't really get a Spider-Man origin with the MCU one, and a little bit with the Andrew Garfield ones, but they don't lean into it as heavily. Spider-Man's origin story is a villain's origin story until Ben dies.
Huh.
Peter Parker is on a path of abusing his power, using his power for personal gain until his selfishness costs him one of the two people he holds most dear in his life at that time.
I never thought about that, but yeah, that's very right. Like, because we'll just use the Raimi ones because they're the only ones that actually freaking show it, really, at least into emotional core that I like. Yeah, he gets bit, leering at a girl because he's awkward. What does he want? He wants to impress her by earning money to buy a car. And then what happens when he gets stiffed? He doesn't do the right thing, even though the dude, objectively, the promoter probably deserved it.
Yeah, the promoter did not deserve to.
But he just lets it go by. He gets his angry quip out of the way. He's like, I failed to see, but that's my problem. And then, it cost him everything. And also, he was there not telling Ben what he was doing. He told Uncle Ben, I'm actually at the public library. I'm going to be there till closing. Come and get me. No, he's 2-3 blocks away, getting saying his name is the
Macho
Human
Man
Spider.
Randy Savage.
Yeah, mocking Randy Savage. Yeah, I never thought about that. That's a good point. Up until Uncle Ben, he is a villain, and even in the Raimi one,
yeah, he's on the path to become a villain.
Yeah,
in the comics, in every good iteration of his origin story adapted from those comics, he is on a path to villainy. He is on a path to abusing his power to gain money, influence, whatever he can get his hands on. And then through his selfishness and through his actions, Ben dies. And that's when great power comes great responsibility makes sense to him. And that's when his life changes.
And they don't get that.
No, they completely don't understand that, to the point where they attribute with great power comes great responsibility to Peter's fucking dad.
At least in the MCU, Aunt May is the one who says it. That is closer than her dad.
I think they vaguely attribute it to Ben.
They do.
I think they say, like, the family motto, with great power comes great responsibility, but whenever someone's older than 16, that person has to die now. I still hate that. Marissa Tomei as Aunt May was fantastic. I wish they would have been able to keep her around, but they wrote themselves into a corner.
Yeah, I do get why. And that corner was, of course, Happy can't be happy.
Happy can't be happy. Peter can't be happy.
No.
You can't create a solution of the world forgets Peter Parker without completely screwing over May. So what do? You got to kill her off.
Yeah.
Which again, I want to know what happens to his social security records and his information there. Like, because you can make people forget that this person exists.
Yeah.
But how does he go about anything for the rest of his life without a social security card that can be verified?
You know what? I'm really, really hoping, because they tease that the story of Spider-Man 4 is being Peter's too difficult, so he's now always like Spider-Man. I'm really hoping that the villain of Spider-Man 4, based off what you just said, is tax evasion.
Hey, that's how they got Al Capone.
No one remembers me, but the government needs taxes, Peter. I'm not Peter, I'm Spider-Man. Who is Peter? No one knows who Peter is.
Okay, so Kraven the Hunter, pass. Do not go see it.
No,
we
no,
didn't.
Nope. Which is kind of sad. I mean, I like, Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Yeah, like I said, I legitimately wanted to see this and like get my tic-tac-toe for the year of Sony's horrible superhero movies, but like it just wasn't in the cards. I'll stream it or something, and maybe we'll do a follow-up with it where we just finally go, we hold our head in our hands and just go, why, God?
Why did we miss this in theaters?
Why did we give ourselves this responsibility?
Because our father's uncle's girlfriend's roommate said.
What does that make her?
Absolutely nothing.
So Sony thought they had a thing on their hands with the Amazing Spider-Man. Famously, they had talked about maybe trying to work in Oscorp Tower into Avengers, because Amazing Spider-Man came out. I think it was it came out July of 2012, and they were going to like tease the combination of the two. That didn't happen because Sony went, "Oh, the Avengers looks good. It's testing very well. We have enough in the Spider-Man stable where we can do our own Spider-Man universe, the thing we've already been doing." So they were like, we're going to make a Sinister Six movie, as we saw at the end of Spider-Man 2, Amazing Spider-Man 2. That was had Drew Goddard attached to write, which Drew Goddard, I believe, was part of like he was part of like the Batman Begins and the Dark Knight writing room. Drew Goddard was tied to a Sinister Six movie, and then there was a Night Watch movie, which Sony wanted Spike Lee to direct.
Oh my god,
that was never gonna happen. Then there was a Jackpot movie, which more modernly people would probably know Mary Jane Watson as the character Jackpot, but Jackpot was originally created I believe she was created in the 90s. She was a character with super strength named Alana Jobson. The reason her name was Jackpot was because she was exposed to a chemical, I think, or like comic book whatever. The whatever she was exposed to was called Lot 777, which is why she called herself Jackpot. And there have been a few people that have held the mantle, but more recently, Mary Jane Watson has held the mantle, which I like what they did with her, because her powers are like randomly generated. So like she has no real control over like what happens with her powers. So like it's not like she can just like flick a couple dials and be like, I need these for this situation. So I like the idea that she has to she has to spin the slots and hope that she hits a jackpot to get the right thing.
That's awesome.
Kind of makes the name make a little bit more sense, instead of we called this one Lot 777 and it gives you super strength. So they were planning on doing a Jackpot movie. There's an untitled Robert Orci project, which Robert Orci, you may know him as the Magic Blood Man who wrote Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Star Trek Into Darkness. Mr. I love when blood can solve a problem or create a problem. There's an untitled Olivia Wilde project where she was going to do like a Spider-Woman female-centric story. Bad Bunny's El Muerto, which that came and went almost as quickly as it was announced.
Mhm.
There was a Hypno Hustler film, which was going to star Donald Glover, and he was going to produce. Other projects included a Mysterio film, which they were maybe going to spin off with Jake Gyllenhaal, but that obviously didn't happen. There is a Spider-Man noir film being made with Amazon Prime, which is starring Nicolas Cage.
Yo, yeah.
And then these are the ones that Sony clearly just went, we need Spider people. We need to make these movies. How do we make that happen? Which, like, you own the Spider-Man films. You own the rights to making Spider-Man. Make a Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
But they were going to make a Silk TV show, which we talked about Silk a long while ago. Look up our Spider-Verse episode where Matt, our friend John, and I break down I think it's 2012, 2014 Spider-Verse series that inspired the Spider-Verse films. Silk, also known as Cindy Moon. She's a character in the comics who was bitten by the same radioactive spider that bit Peter Parker. So they have this weird connection, but through weird comic book bullshit, the bad guy from Madam Web, who is not a bad guy in the comics, Ezekiel, I forget his last name, Ezekiel Stain or something like that. Ezekiel found Cindy and said, hey, there's an interdimensional multiversal vampire who's going to hunt you down. You need to go into this special room that I made that's going to block all of your spider pheromones from him being able to find you, and just stay there until I say so. And she goes, okay. So she just hangs out there until Peter Parker finds out that Cindy exists through a comic event called Original Sin, where every character in the Marvel universe finds out about a secret that they never knew about in their past. And Peter finds out about Cindy. He goes and unlocks her from her room, and she freaks out, beats him up because she's like, where's Ezekiel? He's supposed to be the one to let me out. And then they start making out and having sex because being bit by the same spider apparently also gave them weird pheromones that make them want to hook up really badly. They write that away really quickly, but it's still present in the Spider-Verse comic to the point where they pretty much separate them throughout the entire event. So, like, how do you do a Cindy Moon? She also makes an appearance at the end of Spider-Man 2, the PS5 game. But, like, how do you do this without Peter Parker, especially as a TV series? I don't know. But Amy Pascal and Avi Arad have made worse piles of shit. And then the one that I was actually genuinely interested in to see how they would make this one work. They were going to do a Silver and Black team up. They were going to team up Silver Sable and Black Cat.
I'm like, that's not terrible, but
it makes no sense
in terms of sense.
Like, in terms of how you would get those two to team up through a comic book relationship. It doesn't quite work. But again, who cares about continuity with character themes when you can just use the names and get people to watch your shit? Because if I remember, they were originally, they had announced it shortly after Amazing Spider-Man 2 because Amazing Spider-Man 2 made good money, but after everyone saw it for like a second time, they went, oh, this is bad. This is dumb. And they're like hallway of origin stories of like, oh, we've got the Rhino suit, we've got the Dr. Octopus suit, and we've got a whole bunch of other things that we're going to build a Sinister Six. And it's been 10 years and we still have not seen a Sinister Six.
Nope.
Yeah. So Sony's on par with like Disney's Star Wars stuff, where they announce a bunch of shit and they make a bunch of shit, but they don't make the shit that they announced. They make other shit. And I say this having not watched Skeleton Crew yet. I do plan on getting into that soon.
Lest we forget, they announced Uncharted 2, and that's nowhere on the books.
Oh, that is not happening. There's no way that's happening. That has to be like a contractual thing where they just went, we need to tie up Marky Mark so he can't do something else. We'll save the world from him for at least something. We'll do one good thing, I guess. All right, with that, the eulogy of the Spider-Man, not Spider-Man universe from Sony has officially concluded. Thank you for sticking through this conversation with us. I know it went in 100 different directions, but what can you do when you don't see the movie? Like everyone else in the world, we did not see this movie. I think the people that saw this movie were other podcasters who wanted to review it for their podcast.
I mean, what else can we say about the amazing not Spider-Man universe? It was 6 movies, about 13 hours, and of that, about 12 good minutes. So
you take that back. It's more like 5.
Okay, 5 good minutes.
Best thing that came out of it is DJ Venom going, "Thank you, random citizen."
Somehow a movie with a line like a turd in the wind made $800 million.
Because all the Venom fanboys thought that was cool at the time. God, half the reason I started this podcast was because I wanted to review Venom so badly. And then I decided to start going to school and I missed it. And I was like, that's fine. Whatever. And then we came back and I'm just like, man, I missed that would have been a great window to have. So Alex, let everyone know about it. Oh, next week, we were thinking about, or we have it on the schedule to talk about, I think it's both Sonic and Lion King. Here's my review for Lion King, Mufasa's origin story. Watch Transformers 1 and then watch Hamilton. And you've seen Mufasa. Or you can watch it either way. You can watch Hamilton, then Transformers 1. I think you're ending on a high note if you do Hamilton. Transformers 1 is fine. I don't think it's great, but it's okay. I guarantee you with Mufasa, the only thing people are going to talk about is the music. And if they talk about the story, more than likely, if they've seen Transformers 1, they're just going to say it's the same story. With Sonic, I genuinely, this is another one where I genuinely would like to try and see it. I have not seen a Sonic movie in theaters yet. With it being Shadow and Keanu Reeves, I would love to try and see it, but I don't think it's going to happen for me. So hopefully Sonic is good enough that maybe we watch it on Paramount Plus. With that, I do think that next week, maybe we do a big trailer episode.
Yeah.
Because the Superman trailer will be out the day after this episode comes out. So if you don't follow James Gunn or anything like that, check our Discord, find us on socials. We'll be sharing it. Very excited for all of that. So I think maybe we do like a 28 Days Later Superman trailer and maybe whatever else kind of gets dropped, because we're at the end of the year. So whatever is big to start the year or wants to start building hype before the Super Bowl is going to be releasing trailers in the next couple days.
Sounds good.
So with that, Alex, let everyone know about our Discord.
Our Discord is tsmackpod@gmail.com. It's where we primarily post our movie news and anime news and other stuff. And it's where you can make a correction of Josh. Josh did not mean to say watch Hamilton twice. He meant watch Hamlet.
Which one?
The Kenneth Branagh one, 1996. Kate Winslet. It's fantastic.
True dat.
I didn't realize it at first either. I was like, but he said Hamilton, and then I was like, yeah, Hamilton. I was like, there's like a good 1991 one with Mel Gibson, but I think he means the 96 one. And then I went, wait a second, Hamlet, not Hamilton.
Wasn't the Denzel Washington one that was made for Apple TV Plus? Wasn't that one pretty good too?
Yes, it was. I mean, it's really hard to find a bad
Apple TV
Hamlet.
Plus. Please sponsor us.
Exactly. I could use an iPhone. My Android's getting old.
So everyone, follow us at Talking Smack Pod on all the social media platforms: Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, Hive Social, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. Email us at tsmackpod@gmail.com. Thank you to Leo Allen for our musical themes, Beppo for our original avatars, Richard Studios for our Ricky avatar. Please like, subscribe, rate, review on your podcatcher of choice, and most importantly, Alex, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for doing the edit. And dear listener, thank you so much for sticking through this one. I'm not sure which would be worse, what we did or if we had gone to see Kraven. So maybe you should go see Kraven, dear listener, and let us know.
Don't go see Kraven.
You know what would have been really funny? I had thought about it. I didn't do it. Instead of doing the usual outro, doing the Tommy Pickles sponsibility. Watch Star Trek.
Who loves T-Smac?
I love T-Smac. Is it true? Mm-hmm. I do. Ooh.